apartment above my grandmother lived my Aunt Annie in Goshen. My Aunt Annie has a son named Tony. Everybody called him Junior. Junior and I were real close cousins. As the women were downstairs talking to my grandmother, Junior and I was upstairs in his apartment. He tells me he has a secret. I said, what is it? He says he knows where his father keeps his gun hidden. Junior got his father's gun and has shown it to me. Now, Uncle Tony's gun was a revolver type of gun. And as he was showing us this gun, he was pointing it right at my chest. And I looked down at that gun. I saw the cylinder start to move. Just before the gun went off, I stepped aside. The next day, as I was thinking about it, I realized that St. Joseph made me see that cylinder start to move. And I began to wonder, did I step aside or did he pull me aside? When I was in the war, before I went on any of these missions, I prayed to St. Joseph to watch over me and the other 9 members of my crew. Sometimes we came back from a mission without a single hit on our plane. Most of the time there were many hits on our plane. Twice we came back that our ground crew could not believe that we made it back to the base. But in those 35 missions that I was on, not once was I or any member of my crew ever hurt during a mission. About 9 years ago, before I had my pacemaker put in, I was prone to passing out. One time when the paramedics was called, they told Mama that she better notify her children because they were losing me. Another time I was behind the wheel of my car. I know that it was St. Joseph always watching over me, kept me from getting hurt or hurting anybody else. I thank God that St. Joseph was watching over you, Joe, when you were behind the wheel of your car. About 22 years ago, I asked St. Joseph to help me find a wonderful woman. He made me find the very best. After Mom and I got married, I asked St. Joseph to send me a nice family. He sent me a wonderful family. I can think of a couple families right now, and both these families have a good mother and father. But because the kids got into drugs,
Dominic, at the door.
into stealing and being in and out of prison, these kids gave their parents nothing but heartaches and headaches. The 6 of you have given me nothing but peace, love.
That's a good story, Dad. That's a good story. That's a good
I'm
story.
not
You're not
through
done
yet.
yet?
See, he never talks, now you got him wrong.
There you go.
St. Joseph sent me a nice family, and he sent me this wonderful family. As each one of you were growing up, I asked St. Joseph to send you a loving spouse. He has sent you wonderful spouses, more than I ever hoped and dreamed. 12 of you have given your mother and me 18 wonderful grandchildren. And I think it is amazing, with all the drugs, alcohol, and peer pressure that is out there today, not a single one of them has ever brought any shame into our family. pray that St. Joseph will continue to watch over all my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren. Giving us the wonderful news from little Michael's doctor that it was only scar tissue in his ear and not the return of the tumor. I pray that tumor has never returned again. I thank St. Joseph that Angela was once again able to become pregnant and has given birth to this beautiful boy. I thank St. Joseph that Laura and Marty has finally found each other. And now that they are engaged, I pray that he will bestow all of God's blessings upon their marriage. I thank St. Joseph for watching over Nancy and pray that he will continue to watch over Nancy during her pregnancy. I thank St. Joseph for watching over Angela Rose when she was so sick with that unknown virus, especially that particular day in the hospital when she was so sick. We were told that we were losing her. And I vowed to St. Joseph that someday, if he would watch over her and protect her, I would make known his wonderful deeds. Amen.
Good.
Good job.
That was good.
That's it.
We've all been,
That's a lot. We've been blessed.
Yeah.
The greatest gift I have is my wife and my children.
We are blessed.
we're lucky to have you, Dad.
Thank you.
You made us this way.
Yeah.
Very,
By
very essential
Isn't that
to
where he
the
put the
German
sands he put
army?
the Wind Hotel on, right?
They're all fields, they're railroad tracks.
On here. Where was that, Dad? Polesi? Where,
It was
Romania?
very, very bad until the P-51s came along with wing tanks, because they used to be able to fly just so far in order to have enough gas to get back to their base. And the Germans knew that. And when they got to that point that they couldn't engage in battle, the fighters had to come back to the base. That's when they really attacked the bombers. But when they developed wing tanks that contained gasoline for these fighters, they could use the gasoline on their wing tanks till it ran out. And then when they ran out of gas, they dropped the wing tanks, and they still had all the gas in the planes to engage fighters who were attacking the bombers. And that's when the bombers were really protected, when the wing tanks were developed on these P-51s.
Joseph, where were those oil fields? What was it, Pulaski, or what were they?
Pulaski,
Pulaski.
oil fields.
You bombed that place? Man. I've seen documentaries on that.
Oh, really?
Nobody came back from those missions.
Where was that in?
Is that in Germany? No, where was that?
Romania.
In Romania?
The first crews that bombed those places were like 80% casualties.
Yes. The gun did go off.
That
That
was
gun
probably-
did go off, right?
Did the gun your cousin have go off? The gun that your cousin Tony had, did it go off?
Did he shoot
Did
that
he
gun?
shoot the gun?
Your
You got-
cousin.
in
You
Goliath.
said you got
When
out
you
of the
were
way
telling
of
the story
Junior and
about when you were
Goliath.
young and the gun was pointed at your
Oh,
chest.
yes, it went off.
What happened to him? I mean,
Oh, nothing, I mean, he just shot the gun, he didn't know he was doing it. He pointed right at my
You didn't know it
chest.
was loaded?
It was, huh?
He didn't realize it
Well,
was
he
loaded?
knew, he didn't realize he was even pulling the trigger.
oh my
He
God.
just,
Did anybody hear it?
well, they heard it downstairs, but they didn't really know what it was at the time.
Oh,
The next day, am I thinking about it, then it dawned on me, I says,
yeah,
it was St. Joseph that made me see that cylinder start to move.
yeah.
And I didn't know whether I actually stepped aside or
All right.
St.
Or his
Joseph
intervened.
yanked
Yeah.
me aside. But
Hmm.
I know it was him that did it. He's done a lot of things for me.
Somebody ought to-
So has
Yeah,
St.
Tony
Jude.
has.
Mother and
that's
I
why
have
whooped
asked
that
St.
boy's
Jude for
butt.
many, many a favor.
Yeah.
And he's always answered our favors, our prayers.
Everybody see that hole in the wall that your cousin shot?
Uh,
Everybody ever see that hole in the wall your cousin shot?
I guess they did. I guess he had some explaining to do to his dad the next day, but I don't know about
Deanna, would you
that.
put some coffee in there for me? Just black. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, he,
I don't think so.
sure he did. Junior died.
I don't think so, Dana.
Oh, yeah, he did, Joe.
I still-
You know, considerably, you got a lot safer than they extended to 35 missions, and that's what I had to do. It was a lot safer when I was flying than it was a year, 9 months earlier.
What was
So
your
average-
title? Bomber.
Average number of missions was 7,
About 7.
survival rate.
That was just a year before you were,
Uh,
that was just a year before you were flying?
About a year.
When did you start, when did you go in, what year was it?
When I went in,
Uh-huh,
I went in 1943.
and the war started in 41?
Yeah, 43, I think it was.
When was the war started, 42, 41?
The
41.
war started in 1941.
41.
41 for the Americans.
When, yeah, but the.
Europe was,
Europe
yeah,
was
from
1939.
December 7th, 41, when
That's when we
Japan
brought
bombed
into
Pearl
it.
Harbor.
Yeah,
and
That's when they bombed Pearl
And then
Harbor.
that's when we had to go.
And we, President Roosevelt declared war.
Did you go in when you were 18 or 19?
No, I went in when I was 18.
18.
Well, it was a little over 18. I s-
Well, still, he
Oh,
drafted.
yeah,
signed
they
for
were
draft
rockets,
at
like
18.
18,
Yeah,
you had no
18,
choice.
that was it.
And,
Where they had you go to
I'd be shaking in
basic
my
training
boots. I'd be scared to
I went to
death.
basic training in, Denver.
The war's worse.
Basic training was in Denver. Gunnery school was in Las Vegas.
Did you get a choice to be in the Air Force?
Hmm.
Did you get a choice to be in the Air Force?
Well, I put my name in for the Air Force, and I tried to, put in for fighter pilot, flyer, but, they needed gunners, so very few people at the time were selected to go to pilot school. So, I, along with a lot of others, went to gunnery school.
How long that last?
Oh, I think it lasted
You always say that, huh?
about 10 weeks.
How'd they train you?
I couldn't tell you this.
Crew
You know,
stuff?
Training
took
you,
my
they
short
showed you
lecture.
how to
Yeah.
shoot, how to
No,
clean the
if I
gun,
got the
and
money,
how
I'd do
to,
I go to training.
lead
I
the
learned how to
plane
fly a
so that your
Bullet would get there?
How about
bullets
high
and the
air?
plane
Oh, you
intersect
want
at the
right.
same time.
How about
If you're
flying?
shooting at the plane here,
I wanna learn
they're
how to
already
fly a
gone.
Yeah.
You had to lead.
It's
it.
like you were kayaking. I said, I'll see you in Hawaii. We was in Cancun. I'll see you in
plane. Frank
Hawaii.
enjoys it, doesn't he?
Frank likes it, yeah. He did it because he had a fear of flying.
Mm.
Mhm.
Had you ever been on a plane before, Dad? Had you ever been on a plane?
He'd never been out of
I've
Kansas
never been
City.
to Kansas City. That
What'd
was
you
my
think on that
first,
first
that was my
flight?
first vacation. Into Denver. We got into Denver, and it was night, And the next morning, we got out of the barracks and I looked at those mountains.
That's good.
I told my buddy, I said, you know, we ought to walk over to those
I met
mountains
him,
sometime, you know? Those mountains
None
were
of them
about
said.
40
This is what I
miles
did.
away.
Yeah.
He never told
They
me
looked
about
like
it.
they
Like
were,
they're right
they
there.
looked
Say
like
that.
they were
They
right.
say that.
They say they.
Couple miles
the veterans
away.
Never talked about it.
So did you go to gunnery school in Denver too?
No,
Las
it's
Las
basic
Vegas.
training.
Las Vegas.
Mhm.
And then you got on a plane and went to London? From Las Vegas? Did you?
No,
Say
no.
thank you for serving, you know, it
I
was
took
like,
a
That was nice.
Well,
gave him a little bit of attention.
Yeah.
ship over
Oh, you
there.
gotta take
No,
a
they
ship
should
over
have
to London?
walking around the memorial.
Here you were in the Air Force, we went Air Force, you were?
What you did.
Boat on you?
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
Well, because he had gone, he knew what it was like.
Did
He
you get
says, I
seasick?
was
Well, those
in the
planes
Air
didn't
Force
fly
too,
that
but I
far
told him,
back
"Thank
then.
you."
They couldn't fly that
Oh,
distance.
okay.
The only time they flew over there when they flew the planes over there.
The big giant.
The planes, you
Yeah,
know,
the two of them would
the
take
crew and
a cab
all
Go here and go
flew
there.
planes.
They
And where do they,
to the
where do they have to
hotel.
land to
So people
refuel?
go to
How
the hotel,
many
see them.
refueling stops do they have to make?
Well, I was at work.
But then I'll be
They
asking
made all
about
that.
So now they got,
how's your
they
mom
got
and
two
dad?
of mom and dad.
Every
Yeah,
time we
stop
come back,
in the
they go, where'd you
Philippines
see
or
today?
somewhere.
Yeah, where'd you go?
Good, you had a good time, good. Then
You need
we
a cab.
leave in
Slept
the
every
morning,
night in
where you
London?
gonna go today? Where you
You
gonna
You
see?
slept every
So
night in
nice.
London?
They were so nice.
Oh, no,
And then
right
Miss
outside of
Angela,
London.
oh, we
We
love
were-
Miss Angela, we'd look after her,
Angela?
we'd look after her. you know.
20, about 30 miles outside of
And they do,
London, if I
and she,
remember
when
right.
she, like her plane would be delayed and she'd
Did
be
you go
late.
pretty much every day?
They
Out on
told her, we were so
No,
worried
probably
about
not.
you that you didn't get in.
How long were you over there?
Only went to
It's a
London
small,
Little,
It's a small
Oh,
town.
I
You've never
think
been.
2 or 3
It's just
times
real
you
small.
don't get a
They
pass.
see you.
yeah.
You couldn't leave the
Yeah.
base, you had
I
to
mean,
get
how long
They
were you
just-
stationed over
everybody
there?
They call by name. They
I
know
was
you.
stationed over there for
Not just me, everybody that comes
Good.
in all the
about
time.
9 months.
What'd you do? You like fly one mission a week or something
What,
like that?
Joe?
You fly one mission a week, or how often they make you fly?
No. We might have flown 3, 4, 5 missions a week. Sometimes every day for a while, whenever they were scheduled to fly.
So you would've gotten 35 missions in pretty quickly.
Well,
Why were you
it
there
all
for 9
depends.
months? Why were you there for 9 months?
I don't know, it just seemed like it stretched out that long.
But so there was a lot of days you weren't doing anything, right?
Yeah. See, we weren't the only ones over there. They had a certain target to hit. Maybe our bomb group was be scheduled to hit it. Maybe another bomb squadron would be scheduled to hit the targets. Maybe we'd have 4 or 5 targets the same day. It all depends.
They all just used the same planes?
Huh?
You had different,
Usually, yeah. Our crew usually had the same plane.
I mean, you shared it with other crews on that base? Did they share the same planes, or they just?
I don't really recall whether another group used our planes or not, but we had the same, our airplane had the same ground crew. Our ground crew took care of this plane. It was like their own baby.
Mhm.
They didn't like to see anything happen to their baby.
Where were you on D-Day?
Huh?
Where were you on D-Day? Is that when they had all the
On
Normandy and
D-Day,
everything
I
going
was
on?
down in Texas.
Isn't that D-Day when they had all the Normandy beach and all that stuff happening?
Right.
That's
when they invaded France.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but you were in Texas then?
I was in Texas. I was a gunnery instructor down there in Texas.
Oh, you're,
After your missions.
Before we were down there teaching, and then we were gonna be scheduled to go over for Japan, but then that was declared a victory and VJ Day, and I was still down in Texas.
VJ
So
Day
you-
when the war's over?
That's where
So that-
we were down there.
So you were supposed to go back out?
You could be doing that.
Do you remember the names of your crew, the pilot or anybody else?
The only thing I really remember my pilot was Charles Fry. And we had a little Italian fellow that was our ball turret. He sent a couple letters, remember?
Mhm.
Gunner?
Yeah, you used to get the correspondence from
That's
somebody
the
who was
little
in
tail
the
gunner.
crew.
No, the Vulture was at the bottom, wasn't it? The
That's what I mean, that
bottom-
under, that guy
The belly?
underneath.
Huh?
Underneath.
Was that
That
the
little
bel-
ball,
the
that
Vulture was
little
the belly of the
glass
plane?
Yeah.
ball at the bottom.
Underneath.
That's
Always
where
had to
you
be a
were?
little bitty guy, get in there.
And that's where you were?
Planes flying.
No,
No,
it was
somebody-
just
somebody
else
else
Global.
And you were on side?
And-
Oh, I thought you were in the little,
Side, waist gunner.
20,000.
oh, I thought you were in the little.
No, you'd have been
You
too
get me in
big.
that ball.
You'd been too big for that.
I
Down there,
flew
wouldn't you?
once in a ball,
Yeah.
I sure didn't like it.
You
down
feel like
there.
you're hanging
Yeah.
out there
You're
You're
outside the
hanging
plane.
underneath there.
Yeah.
And the only way you can get out of that ball turret is if the guns are pointing straight down, and then the hatch was up on top that you can open up. But once that hatch is closed and your gun's this way, ain't no way in the world that you're gonna get out of there.
Big.
And if that,
If you're landing here,
Man,
if the,
you
that
you
ball
ain't caused
turret was
a
hit and
claustrophobic,
damaged that you
you
couldn't
dead.
rotate it,
I wouldn't have been able to sit
you was
down.
in trouble.
Yeah.
Or would you have like a little bump on the side of the airplane where you, where, how'd you see where you were shooting? Did you have little windows on the side and just
I had,
stand
I
inside
had a
the
window,
little window?
gun sticks out the windows. See, so it wasn't like these airplanes now that are, so that you can breathe in the plane, you had to have an oxygen mask on. And you stand up on an open window.
Open window?
You imagine how
Side
cold,
window.
imagine how cold it had to be up there.
Huh?
How cold
Oh,
it had to be
yeah.
up
Oh, it
there.
was cold. You had, electric suits on, your heavy suit, which had electric charge, just enough to keep you warm. That's
like
where-
electric, like
That's where the story goes, when I had my oxygen mask on, you know, when you breathe in there, you get all that moisture in there. It's so cold in those things that the moisture in your oxygen mask freezes up. And so often you had to take it off and crunch it, wipe it out, get the ice out of that mask. And that's where the story goes that as I took it off, I dropped my handkerchief. And as I bent down to pick it up, a piece of flak went right from one side of the plane to the other, right where I would have been standing if I had been standing up. But being that St. Joseph's made me drop
Here goes St. Joseph.
my handkerchief,
Made him drop
I stopped by and bent over to pick it up.
Man.
Thank goodness
how
for
close
St.
were
Joseph. We'll buy
the
him
German
a
fighters
chip.
to you? I mean, could,
Oh, he's got this.
close enough
I have
to,
such a nightstand.
you see their,
That's good.
see their faces, or are they that?
No, I never
that
did.
close? No, some of your escorts, I assume,
Oh,
were-
the
they were pretty
escorts
close
would
to
have
you.
seen them.
But
You could see there, but they were, these other guys were coming up.
The bombers were in a formation so that the guns would be
Every time I say something,
concentrated.
you know, somebody's.
Like if it's on the right
Oh,
side,
I
all the
like
guns
it.
will be
St. Joseph.
concentrated so that you shoot a big
I
pattern.
told you a
But
brutal.
naturally, fighters didn't wanna get into that pattern,
Get
so
my Vaseline.
they would attack when
When
it
you were
was
in,
to their
in
advantage.
Europe, when you had all those churches, didn't you go in there? Fred to St. Joseph. and
Uh-huh.
every church
So the,
had those.
one time you were telling me a story about
That's
sometime the escort
very-
planes they would jack with.
None was going from, true, she was going on
Kinda
with
greasy
them.
like,
Israel to
it
the
only
old
happened
man.
once or twice, I
And he
think.
gave her money, he says,
They
I want you
did,
to.
They kinda frowned on that.
Yes.
I'd
frown on that,
I'm not sure.
We don't like these planes, we don't like bumping our planes.
Yeah.
Get your parachute on.
They had it on. They had it on. Because if you got hit and the plane is starting to twirl,
She says,
going down, there's no way you're gonna parachute on. You was just lucky enough if you get to the goal and bail out.
I can't believe it.
Mom.
All
When
of a
they sat
sudden,
that
she
little
said,
gunner
I just
thing, they had
been
their parachute on
Mom.
beside that little times room.
No,
They had their parachute on.
the
We're getting used.
Walter
"Oh,
didn't wear a parachute.
At St. Joseph.
Plane went down, they kiss her ass.
No, you said the
Statue in the
Walter
house
is the one that went
Walter, it's like a ball.
and you said the
I was on the way to it.
waist gun.
I might
Where's
pretty
the
quick.
gunner at that doesn't have a parachute on?
He's underneath the plane,
He's
in
in that
Oh,
ball.
no, that's his name,
Yeah,
that's
the
in
ball
that
turret.
spot,
ball
okay.
turret.
Turret, okay.
And
the
then it
gunner's
It
in
rotates.
It rotates.
Oh, it moves, okay.
Yeah, he's under there inside of it and it
Oh, okay.
rotates so he can.
Okay. He had double danger. He couldn't even have a parachute on.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
How many of those, ball turrets did they have? They had on the plane, they one up top.
They had one on top, they called the top turret. They had the ball turret, 2 waist gunners. They had a tail gunner, and they had a gunner in front.
And what was the other one?
Gunner in front.
Okay.
They did. Didn't even get home. I called this, the house is
And
sold.
then we had
The St. Joseph
a
statue.
navigator,
For the town.
bombardier, radio operator, pilot,
Football
co-pilot.
pilot.
There were 9 of us.
9 of them, yeah.
I mean, 10 actually, 9 besides myself, there was 10.
God.
What was the name of your plane?
Leading lady.
What?
Leading lady.
So when the plane went down, they lost 10 airmen.
Actually, I'm okay.
So you jumped out of the parachute before? So you jumped out of a plane in a
No.
parachute before? Oh, you never had to do
That
that?
even in training?
No, I was saying, nothing. You never
Not
had to
even
do
training?
Not even training.
I already
Your
did
first,
that.
your first one was your first one.
That was your
Never did.
training
Oh my
flight?
gosh, yeah, he never
That would've been
trained.
training and everything all at once.
Yeah, on the job training.
You only tried training those if you was a paratrooper. Those guys are the ones that dropped out of planes to fight on the ground. But we never had any training.
Some of these.
Yeah, the teachers better
All they told you to do when you land, bend your knees so that your legs don't lock up, that you could bend and roll.
Where's your mom
You can't do that.
Through all that
So
now.
Dad, you never had to do, jump out of a plane with a parachute?
You know, he never,
No.
I'm amazed that they
Surprised.
didn't train them to do parachute jumping, but they did.
They didn't have time.
Yeah.
They wanted him out there.
I guess if you had to jump, you'd
If you
figure out what
jump,
to
if
do.
you have to, you jump.
You do, you
Yeah.
pull the,
And do,
pull it.
and you
Then he's
just
giving
pray
instructions
that.
on how it works.
Parachute over.
St. Joseph would have caught his hand.
Down like this and then you
Dad,
jump
if you
and
jumped,
pull.
St. Joseph would have caught your hand. He would have been there.
He would've been there.
And make sure the canopy open.
We only had one parachute, we didn't have
There's
a
some guys do it
You
for
only had
fun.
one.
Yeah, for everybody.
One apiece or one to share?
How often did you? Since you never used it, did you ever repack
There's a
it?
race to get to the top.
They had one and that guy had to go get help when he reached the
The
bottom.
ground crew did, if they repacked it.
I had no idea, I don't.
Do I need more ice in there too? I could get some up from upstairs.
Well.
Okay. You didn't know you'd be filmed, did
You
you?
recording me?
I did.
Oh my.
You've been on camera, Joe,
That's
see?
right. So I'm gonna pass it out too.
If I knew you recorded me, I would've shut up.
No, I wouldn't have let you.
See, your grandkids can hear this.
That's right. Yep. Oh, I will. I'll make
From
comments.
what you know, is that pretty common for World War II veterans not talking too much about the war?
Yeah, they're known to not to talk
I
about
don't think
it.
many of them ever talked, I don't know why.
They always say that,
It
that
just-
they
No,
never
that's-
No, you're not in
that's
the,
what
you're
Tom
fine. I didn't,
Brown
that's not in my,
does.
I promise, that's not even in
It's
there.
a generation that just,
No, I don't
It's
even see,
something they
I
had
don't
to
even see
do,
that
they
in there.
did it,
So I've got
that
it
was
zoomed
it.
in, so
When
don't
he
worry about
interviewed
it.
them and got stories out, that's the first time they had related their stories, a lot of them.
Yeah, I remember him saying that that's pretty common when he would, if he referred to them as a hero, they would say, oh, the heroes were the ones that never made it
that
back.
never came back. Those are the ones that were heroes. And I always say that I was very fortunate being in the Air Force, because if we make it back to your base, you had a clean sheet to sleep in. Those poor guys on the ground, they was always in mud,
The
sleeping
infantry.
in mud, eating in mud.
And those poor
The
guys that
infantry.
first wave on
Those,
Normandy.
Oh,
yeah.
poor guys.
those.
Boys.
Yeah,
They
is
were
that where
just
in my
Janine's
like
uncle
sitting
opinion,
down.
died?
those
They
were
were
the
just-
heroes of the
Is that where
war.
Janine's uncle died?
The ground
No,
soldiers.
no, in the Pacific, Janine's uncle, it was Saipan or Iwo Jima, one of those, I think.
He was like in the army, wasn't he?
Janine,
Janine's uncle. Years ago when I was little, Janine's uncle, Occupation boy.
oh, okay.
He was
Great uncle.
Yeah, great uncle.
Probably great uncle, yeah.
Her grandpa's correct.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember
If anybody
Those
wants
were
stuff,
the heroes, those
I just wanna
guys
wash
that
these
hit the
containers.
beaches and.
they didn't have a chance, but they, a lot of them
Small.
drowned right, as they got off of those landing barges.
Some of the landing barges didn't make it to
Didn't
the,
even get to the beach.
get to the beach.
Mhm.
Some of the guys were so cowardly that they wouldn't get close enough to the beach so that the guys could get off of them. A lot of them drowned after they got off the
Mhm, with all the
the boat.
heavy equipment and
the
everything.
heavy equipment. They
Yeah.
were.
Let 'em
They
out
weren't
to
even
that,
close
no.
enough.
They
I
weren't
don't
even
think
close
it's the
enough.
bottom.
You getting close enough to let
They
them
were
off.
so
just
weighed down
drop
with
them
all
in.
their ammunition and guns and
Water was
everything,
too
they
deep.
couldn't even make it to the beach.
They said there were just a couple handful of men that actually won that
Did
battle.
you see that
That
movie?
actually got
Honor
the,
Thy Father
the men
or
off the beach
Father's
and let them
Honor
off
or
the,
whatever.
up the few little
Yeah.
pathways and knocked out the
You
pillboxes
see
that
that?
cleared the
That
path.
was good.
There's a
Wasn't
few
it what you say, Jeff?
was
few
that-
handful
was
of
that
men
right
that
at
won
the
that battle.
Some about fathers,
Honor
some
Thy
of,
Father.
Wasn't Audie Murphy one
something
of
of
them?
fathers,
Audie
something.
Audie Murphy was the most decorated
Yeah,
soldier in
of the
World War
That was
II.
war. You know, he made movies there,
He's
Audie
an
Murphy.
actor, he was an
He
actor.
ended up being an actor. Audie Murphy, you've seen old
You ever
movies
seen
with
the
him.
cowboy movies?
Yeah.
Old cowboy movies.
Audie Murphy.
So
Heard
he
the
was,
name.
He was one of the, went up and
Almost
took,
a
didn't he take one of those machine gun nests, went up the
He
hill
was the most
and
decorated
Yeah,
soldier.
soldier.
He had
Got the
the
Congressional
Congressional
Medal of
Medal,
Honor,
Honor,
everything.
Silver Star.
he had every medal you could win.
Every medal that was practically available.
Then he died real young or something. He died real young or was killed in an accident real young. He made it through all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
what medal did you get? What's the medal that you have?
Air medal. For every 5 missions you made, you got an air medal. Instead of giving you another air medal, they give you a cluster.
Give you
A little cluster, that's a little,
the bar?
it's a little, like a little flower type thing that would just go onto your bar.
You got that at your house? And what's in the case?
But that Audie Murphy, he was one of those, Joe, that just kept going and got, you know,
Yeah.
and took out those
Wow.
machine gun nests
Mhm.
that was keeping the rest of them pinned down.
That's how the Americans eventually got off that beach.
Yeah,
A few guys like that.
they had them so pinned down.
What, they went up there and did what? There
Took
was-
out the machine gun, you
there
know,
was in the shooting all
Yeah,
the.
yeah.
They did some crazy stuff, I
So
mean,
then the Americans
Yeah.
could go back
so
deeper
they
in.
could keep advancing
Well,
on the
they
beach.
so they could get off-
They
get off
couldn't
the
get,
beach.
they couldn't get off the
Machine
beach.
gun nests kept the Bens from advancing. Somebody had to sneak around behind
Throw a
them
grenade down in there.
and destroy that machine gun nest so the men on the beach could
Yeah,
advance.
there were thousands of men pinned down on that beach, they couldn't move.
Gosh, that's something like, when there, there's a lot of stretches of beach, but did they know that they were coming? Was there a tip or something that they wound up being prepared for?
No, they really didn't know that's where we were gonna land.
I
They
think-
put out
If-
false
if
information
he
that we
was
were
sent
gonna
that
go up
I
at,
heard something like that.
Saving Private Ryan.
farther north,
No, that
what was it,
farther
what they
north.
put out that
Calais.
sign?
Oh,
Calais,
Calais.
Calais.
oh,
Flag of a
we saw
father.
that,
What is
that
that?
wasn't that
Flag
good.
of a father.
Flag
That was
of our
that,
fathers.
that wasn't that good.
They-
We
I
saw
thought it
that.
was.
It wasn't-
They got a
that wasn't
body
much
and
bad.
had it washed up
Tell you.
What do you mean?
on
What's
the
that?
now European shore there, and they had this briefcase handcuffed in his hand like he was a secret, you know, and they had all this false information in there that we were gonna land up in Calais, up in the north, and they were just praying the Germans would find this body.
They knew, the French.
And they did.
I think
They
it was-
threw them
was
off,
the
as
French or
bad as it
somebody found
was.
it, and they knew
really
that they
wanted
would give it
to
over
there.
to the Germans.
That's where they put the flag up on the museum.
The man that
That
they,
movie was. Flag of a
it died, and he died of
Fellow was
pneumonia,
done pretty good.
I did too.
and his lungs was full of
There you go.
So
fluid.
they knew if they did the autopsy.
So they knew that he'd been in the water a long time. He died they thought he died
From the water.
from drowning.
Uh-huh,
Actually, he was dead from pneumonia,
uh,
so it confused the Germans.
mhm.
They thinking that he actually
True.
drowned. And,
So they'd have been more fortified at Normandy had they not got that false, wasn't that what it was?
They had
that
secret,
were-
yeah, they had false papers on that,
Yeah, on the
on that
guy, they
body.
were hoping they would find it, you know, and I think they
Yeah.
did head up
They,
north farther, most of the,
Well,
had-
that's why the Germans didn't send all their tanks to the
He
Normandy,
had-
because they were
Normandy.
expecting the
Yeah, they were,
battle somewhere
yeah.
on Calais.
They
Fully
did throw
army.
them off on that.
supposedly directed by George Patton because he was one